Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Comedy, Luxembourg's finest metal podcast. And again, with an international interview, I'm very pleased to have Medusian. I hope I pronounced Medusian correctly. I forgot to ask that, though. Is that the correct way?
That is exactly how I pronounce it.
The only way.
Yeah, therefore, it's correct.
Great.
Exactly. If you did it different than me, you did it wrong.
Medusian in French, maybe. But hey, we are in Sweden today. So thank you very much, guys. You have Mitchell on my right and Isak on the left that joined in today, all the way from Gothenburg. So very pleased with that. And we are here today, obviously, to talk about Medusian, a very freshly baked bread, so to speak. Like, it's been like not even a year that you guys been active, if I remember correctly.
True.
And a lot of stuff has happened in your camp, so to speak. And obviously, a lot of songs, a lot of ideas flowing. And I was lucky enough to get a glimpse before the release of the full EP library that dropped earlier this year. And I gotta say, surprisingly packed with a lot of, how did I put it? Symphonic Overload. Is that a nice term to use?
I think so. I would say there's a lot of content in it, and when it's overloaded, it feels like it's going over the brim, so to speak.
But it's nice.
I took it as a compliment. I took it as a compliment. So
great. Great. So let's start at the beginning. How did this band come to be? Like, where did the idea spark?
Oh man, I started. Yeah, that one's. I gotta take that. I guess. So I was in like a technical death metal project before this. It was some years ago, and just like everyone who plays technical death metal, I was miserable doing that. But basically, once I wanted to move to different kinds of stuff, I was struggling to come up with new ideas, and I was doing like Gojira Dark Tranquility kind of crossover, kind of modern-ish stuff. And I just started getting ideas that were odd story-oriented ideas that I thought were kind of silly, but they were fun. And I actually started finishing songs then. And I wrote another one after that was a little bit more on the Gojira side, I guess. And then I wanted to write something softer, more experimental, because I really like a lot of experimental melodic ideas. And I wrote Bottom of the Well. And funny enough, I needed to do the part of the story where the character kind of goes crazy, right? In the later half. And I wanted to write something wacky and weird, so I wrote this weird guitar part, but I couldn't play it very well because I had just written it. I was in the writing mindset, so I didn't want to stop. So I have that old violin MIDI pack thing. I program it in strings, and it's just so I could go back to writing. I was like, wait, that kind of slaps actually as a violin. And I added the dun dun diggity dun diggity dun dun underneath. I was like, oh shit, this is really cool. And then I did the same thing again in Face Stealer after Bottom of the Well was done. The strings in the intro part, I wrote that as like a tapped guitar thing, but once again, it was I wanted to keep writing, so I'm like, okay, I'll write it down and learn it later. And I was like, God, the strings sound really good again. So these were just demo ideas that I had originally, and I was just going to put them out on my own at first, and see where it goes. Maybe just a recording project. Maybe I would do like an Ulang Lun YouTube kind of thing. I don't know what I wanted to do. But then I met Isak. Yeah, I asked Isak eventually, because we play in a band called Cinder together, if he wanted to be a drummer in a band that I was forming, and he said no. And then and he actually did.
He was honest. He was honest at that point. So
well, he was like, well, if it's a live thing, probably not. I have a lot to do. Yeah. And then his previous project ended, and he was free with more time, and we were hanging out all the time anyway. And he was like, hey, do you want to play some of these songs at the practice space? I was like, why, yes, I do.
And so it begins.
And our friend,
I've been into this kind of technical melodic death hybrid with the symphonic stuff for a long time. I was like, this is straight up my alley. But as he said, at the time, I did not have
the time.
Yeah.
His last band was a band called Interion. That was like symphonic melodic death stuff. So it, you know, even beyond just the idea that we already played together and we work well together and all that stuff, it was a genre kind of match already. Yeah. And my friend Richard, our bass player, I was just showing him the demos, and as I said, I was going to do everything on my own in the beginning. I was like, oh, I'll do the bass. And then bass is hard if to do properly. And he heard the demos. He's like, I'd really like to play bass on this record. I was like, I really want you to play bass on this record, actually. There you go. So one thing led to another, and you know, everything kind of just developed more naturally on its own from there. And
yeah, it was kind of the same with me. Like first time we started hanging out, you showed me the demos for like Bass Dealer, I think.
Yeah, it was pretty early that I was writing them before it kind of developed. It was like 2022 that I started writing these. And naturally it took a little bit of time before I developed them properly. I also learned to sing to make this band. I did not sing before.
It sounds like you've been at it for 10 years, and this happened over the span of like 3 years. This
I really appreciate it.
He has not slept for.
No.
He looks slept deprived. So.
Exactly. So like I learned the growls, I learned the screams, and I learned how to sing, and all of that stuff. And so the songs hypothetically could have maybe come out sooner, but like I also didn't do orchestrations before this
that
band either.
Yeah.
I did a little bit. But like, so I'm happy my singing development held back the demos from being released.
Okay.
Because it allowed us to sit with the ideas longer, my orchestrations to get better, and everything to just kind of develop.
Yeah.
My singing was the obvious one, and I think when it's your voice, you hesitate to do it when you're not ready.
Yeah, right? I get it, because especially like if you're obviously on the move and the writing mode and everything has a perfect flow, and then like slowing down to like take a break and just see what the things that have been done until now, is it good enough? And I really like that approach, because I feel nowadays with the amount of music that has been put out, it's just, first of all, it's hard to keep up with all the releases. It's probably impossible for you guys, probably the same. I mean, we are all fans anyway of metal and well-produced music, but it's good to hear that people still want to like take it at a slower pace, but without losing momentum. It's very good to hear. Reassuring.
You have bands that rush out records, and you have bands that don't drop them for like 7-8 years or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
I mean, to be fair, you know what we forgot actually to start with. People have no clue what Medusian play. Let me just formulate. I said Symphonic Overload, but probably most people will say, I'm not into this power metal symphonic thing. But trust me, it is nothing like that. I mean, a friend of mine and a fellow podcaster as well, he was referring to obviously bands like the great ones out there, Septic Flesh, Fleshgod Apocalypse, which is they're there. Come on, I mean, it's very reminiscent for this idea of what music should we produce as Medusian. And I'm gonna be fair here. When I saw the first what was it? I think it was Bull of Crete was the first post I saw from you guys, and I was like, Medusian, that sounds very Greek inspired, obviously. And I saw the Bull of Crete. Said, I'm not into Greek mythology at all. So I basically, I put it aside. I was like, let me check that out for another day. When I checked it out, it was at the time of Face Dealer. So I realized that Face Dealer was out obviously later, and I was like, oh damn, these fellas know how to speed up. So Isak, well done on the drums, honestly. High speed training, and I was blown away by the fact that it's such a nice collection, especially now with library, that is, I will say, a bit all over the place, but in a good way. Is without being harmful or anything. I feel the title for library is very interesting as well, because it's basically a collection. I feel is a collection of songs that maybe would have been like a nice concept record. For example, Bull of Crete, you go that part. Toymaker is again another really a different like idea. So I really like the whole concept of the library. Basically, this is what we have, and it's very neatly done. So yeah, for those out there who don't know yet, you should check them out, though.
Thank you for the kind words. Funny enough, it kind of is a concept EP, a little bit. It's all the songs, all the stories from the first four songs are unrelated, but Library is kind of this meta tying them all together with the idea that it's kind of meta in the way that Library, the song, is about a man trapped away in a library, filling the shelves with stories that he's written for himself to entertain himself and to keep himself company, so to speak. And the four songs that precede Library are stories he has written in the library, so to speak. So it's not a concept record in the way that, you know, maybe a lot of prog bands do, the story start to finish in a clear, cohesive way, you know, but it's more the idea that these four songs serve a story with the themes more so, and Library is the expression that this is one character going through those themes as an individual, kind of more so. It's more of a vibe than a story, but still. So
sounds good to me, though. I'm all up for it. It's not. I mean, how would you describe it? Is it easier writing like songs that work in a concept-y way, even though they are somehow tied together, or you feel like maybe in the near future, Medusian will start with an actual full blast concept record, you know, like.
Oof, you know, I've thought about that a lot. We're working on the next one, and that is not a one story record necessarily, because at this point where I'm at, I'm really good at getting excited about one song and spending a lot of time really getting that one perfect. And for me, the different perspectives that I like to take with different emotional themes kind of demands them to be song oriented. I would absolutely love to do an album that is one cohesive story start to finish. But the thing is, it's like I am very scattered as a person with the way that I look at a lot of things. I'm very scatterbrains, and so like the example you gave, that a lot of these songs are quite different from each other. And the core sound of Medusian is kind of somewhere in the middle of all of those. Right? That's kind of who I am as a person, and so connecting all of these from the very beginning with a clear plan, also lyrically, that's not exactly where my brain is right now. I want to be able to do that, and in the future, I would love to do that.
It's a challenge, obviously. I mean,
yeah, for sure. And some styles of songwriting, I think, lend themselves better to that than others as well.
But then again, I mean, since we are talking anyway about those different ideas and everything that have been crafted, like in the last 3 years, so to speak, main influences, then they must go like all out, like all over the place, I'm guessing, because it's kind of, it has the feel that it's not only about metal, obviously. It is still metal, definitely technical metal at its core, but you can definitely see that there's some again, the symphonic elements, obviously, but in total, I feel there's a lot of different influences that flew into these songs. Or am I mistaken?
No, you're definitely not. It's kind of an amalgamation of a lot of the things that I've listened to over the years and enjoyed over the years and been inspired by. Like, so my initial inspiration for the band, big time, was actually Seven Spires. They're my favorite band. I love Seven Spires.
You will never shut up on them.
No, absolutely not. And that's what the rest of this podcast will be about. I'm glad you asked.
I only stumbled upon Seven Spires not too long ago, so I have. You basically have to teach me, basically. So that's why we're here today.
Careful, man. You're gonna get me sidetracked.
Okay.
So I will set aside the Seven Spires fanboy for a second. They were kind of my initial inspiration for the kind of stuff I wanted to do. At the time when I started writing it, I was really into Seven Spires a lot. I was really into Camelot a lot.
Okay, yeah.
And I've always been really big into Fleshgod Apocalypse and Septic Flesh, as you said earlier. So for me, and I have a lot of background with, as I said, like technical death metal stuff, right? It was Obscura has been always been a big one for me. Beyond Creation had a big part for me as well. Always been a big fan of Spastic Inc. and Blotted Science with Ron Jarzenbeck. The experimental stuff. But like when it comes to influences other than just the straight metal stuff that you've mentioned. Nobuo Uematsu from the Final Fantasy soundtrack composition is my favorite. The Bloodborne soundtrack especially. Love the FromSoft games, we both do. But I also take a lot of influence. I studied jazz and classical music when I was younger.
Okay.
Like not in like a university, but with private educators and stuff. But a big one for me as well is Marina Diamondy, Marina and the Diamonds, pop singer from. She's
need to check it out.
The UK.
Okay.
And I really like Kendrick Lamar, the rapper, as well.
Yeah.
He does a lot of story-oriented stuff that if you kind of dig into the way he writes his records, you're gonna start recognizing some of my bullshit in that, I guess.
Okay.
But so I try to draw from places that if those songs make me feel a certain way, I want to write a song that makes me feel that way, even if they sound nothing alike, right? And I would very much like to not just run this whole podcast about Medusian. So I'm curious about Isak's influences as a whole, both musically and because he is
give this man a voice,
finally, drummers are underrepresented.
Yeah, 100%.
Like he's written a song for the next record, orchestrally and guitarist and stuff like that. So he's very much not just a drummer in the bands.
Yeah, up until this point, I had not contributed a lot of notes for Medusian. Just the drumming, the smacking of the
just the drum.
Just
just blast beats at 230.
Yeah,
that's all.
Just.
But I have a lot of experience writing metal songs in general. Even though I'm not very.
Don't be humble. We're on the internet. Stop it. So
I can't really play guitar that well, but I write a lot of guitar riffs because I've been studying MIDI scores basically of the metal songs that I like, and from there I think, okay, what is it that I like? I learn from that and I recreate it pretty much. Yeah. And as I mentioned before, for Arion, I wrote most of the music, and it was me who took it to a more symphonic place as well. So I have a lot of experience with orchestrating, and also I've been studying a lot of classical music as well with full symphonic orchestras and such.
So not only a drummer.
So with that given, sorry,
I'm just saying, not only a drummer,
Actually, in your music theory, am I a drummer? I don't know.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah,
I understand that.
Yeah, finally I can talk music theory with somebody beyond a first grade reading level, and who'd have thought that it was a drummer, you
get lucky, Sometimes you get lucky.
I hit the lottery, it seems. So.
Kind of. Yeah, great. No, it's good to see, like, now, especially after the release, obviously, that this momentum, I think if I hear correctly, it's only just begun for you guys to really like fusion together and work your way upon to the next level, so to speak. What I'm really interested in is like kind of a similar thing that we have going on in Luxembourg, is the fact that we can't compare Luxembourg to Sweden in size and in metal band capacity, but we definitely have a crowd and we definitely have a scene. Otherwise, we would not be here, first of all, But how is it like for you guys, for example, if we would take Medusian now or other underground Swedish bands to, get noticed, so to speak? I mean, it's for us, obviously, outside of Sweden, we get the big ones naturally, In Flames, and the melodic death metal scene basically is from Gothenburg. So how do underground bands try to promote in the most original way, meaning live shows and everything that comes with it?
I think we're in a complicated point in time for that. I think it probably was worse like 5 years ago, COVID aside, of course. But of course, we're in between the 90s and before, and even the 2000s and stuff, the pre-internet era, but we're not completely like plugged into cyberspace yet either. So it's this complicated way, I think, that bands everywhere have to find their way to traverse the internet and successfully get put into people's ears, but not not just seem like you're advertising something in some inauthentic way. With metal being quite niche, authenticity carries a lot of air to it, right? But I also think a lot of, and this isn't unique to Sweden, I think a lot of local, like, underground, there is the huge air of doing all of these things, just play live shows, just go around, play enough live shows in enough nearby towns that you can tour and stuff between them. But at the same time, it's like all of your favorite bands will maybe come to your city like once a year. So it's like, how often can you retain an audience in a town as a local thing? So it's this complicated space. You know, in Sweden, we're fortunate that there are things like, speaking from our experience with our other band Cinder, there's organizations like Studio Fremandet that can contribute to stuff like getting underground bands put on festival slots and stuff like that, or like Sweden Rock or something like that. You know, there are multiple, and I'm not Swedish, for anybody who is asking me asking about my name, not seeming super Swedish, so I have less experience with it than maybe Isak or our various friends around Gothenburg. But like, so there's various forms of support in terms of getting opportunities to get exposed to people, but it's kind of in a way the same thing, that it's just supported access to playing underground shows. You know, I think if everybody knew how marketing works today, or communicating with the culture, I think every band would be getting more listeners. It's complicated.
Yeah, it's very complicated. It's kind of reassuring that it's all over the globe. It's kind of the same thing.
Oh yeah.
So even though
there's no golden experience for an underground band anywhere, I don't think.
No.
You know,
Especially you said it,
really the best thing for an underground scene is just
how has that been for you? Like, with obviously the release of Library, the impact, what were the reactions? Was it what you expected, or was it still like an overwhelming thing? Because I mean, what I've read, pretty good. So
yeah, I mean, it was flattering, for sure. You always hope that it will go well. So I won't say it's not what I expected. It's not so much that I was like, oh, of course everyone's going to love it.
Yeah, that's
of course
pretty
not.
cringe if you say that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hope. It's hopeful. Let's say, but like, some things will always kind of catch you off guard when they're actually in front of you. Like, some people saying some things about these songs that we made that I don't know. When I actually hear somebody say it, it's a bit odd. I'm not ready. I wasn't ready for it, let's say. But we're working to getting put out some live shows and stuff like that. We're doing some internal changes and preparations for stuff like that. So we're looking to start gigging this year and see where we can take that. You know, we're working on our next record as well. We want to keep it moving forward as much as we can. But people's responses have been awesome. The people that like it, it's I can't say anything to those people except, thank you so much. I don't know why we deserve that, but in your eyes we do, so thank you.
Yeah, great. I mean, it's again, we had a listen, and it was very much with what I like personally, what I really appreciate, and that's kind of the norm nowadays. Maybe you feel the same, or friends in other bands that have a similar concept or idea behind it. But nowadays, production, I think, is a must. It's not like you have like bands that try and do a seriously well production. I think it's the norm nowadays that your production is super, super high, and for you is not any different. It's a very highly produced record, which is kind of crazy to think of it,
It may, I agree. I think the access to the tools to do that the cost of making a record has plummeted since like 20 years ago. Devin Townsend once said that he, not to me personally, but like, I wish,
would be great,
but
though.
he said, I know, just name drop, my buddy Dev. He said once that during one of the Strapping records, I think it was New Black, the producer said, you can't make a great metal record for less than $200,000. And he was like, I don't know if you're right about that. That's absurd. And then he made Xanthochroid for way more than people spend these days making their first record, but substantially less, right? So it may surprise some listeners to know that we recorded all of this ourselves with our own equipment and whatnot. We did hire a mix engineer, Christopher Bori, from Art Nation. Richard plays in Art Nation with him, and he's a really wonderful producer. He does it professionally with his own studio and stuff. But we, in order to afford making the record, we did record this on our own. Isak recorded the drums himself with his own mics and stuff, and I did everything in my closet that I call a studio. So
yeah, which is.
But we appreciate the compliment on the production too.
Very good. So. No, again, I mean, production levels are very high. So for those who don't know or who are seeking for something similar, again, we did a few name drops here: Septic Flesh and Xanthochroid also. I forgot to mention Xanthochroid, which is also like a very influential band, maybe, but. In any case, I think Medusian is right up your alley if you're looking for technical, hyper-realistic overload of symphony. Let's call it like that. I like Symphonic Overload that much. I think I'll name your next record Symphonic Overload.
I might borrow that for some merch.
You go ahead.
That's a good merch tag. Yeah, so.
But you said it. I mean, straight to an LP recording, or will you still stick with an EP? Format probably for the next one, or
we're thinking an EP. We're thinking an EP for the next one, just because it's like, I think the way that I like to think of it is I would like when the first album comes, I want to do an album after that. I'm thinking another EP just for the sake of getting material out there and developing the sound as well. They're more cost effective. They're quicker to release, and perhaps we can garner more attention if we have a consistent attention.
Fair enough, yeah.
On us,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And also, just the writing can be tighter when it's a short time span. It has to be in a way that's challenging, I suppose, to fill the runtime with as much quality as you can. But it's also you don't have to ever throw in a B track, so to speak, I guess, which I think many people will understand the idea that, this record's 40 minutes, let's bump it up to 45 or something like that, so.
Might happen very often, fair enough.
Probably more than we think.
Yeah, definitely. What else do I have written down here? Oh yeah, a very important one, but I think you answered the question a few questions back already. Dream lineup with Medusian, what would that be? I mean, Seven Spires is obviously a must, if I hear correctly.
I never heard of them, but I have no idea what you're talking about. But I'm going to let Isak go first, because our viewers at home, you specifically, you watching this, I know you're tired of me, so I'm going to let Isak go first. Man. And he wasn't ready either, so that makes it even funnier.
Kind of the first 6 flyers then.
The 6 fuck off. Anyway, go. What bands do you think would be good, or just dream band? You don't know? Why not?
I really don't know.
This man is in a Dimmu Borgir shirt half the time that I meet him, and he doesn't know what symphonic bands we could play with.
Playing with Dimmu Borgir, it doesn't really feel like.
It doesn't feel real. It feels out of reach.
It would be funny though. I mean, it would be funny and surreal, obviously, playing with Dimmu Borgir on stage, but I mean, it's not impossible nowadays,
No, but I think.
Where would I put ourselves? Like, in what camp?
Let's say, I don't know. That's the point. That's why it's fun.
Maine, come on, man. Dream big, man. Maine.
We're
headlining the show.
There you go. Yeah. They're opening for us.
Yeah.
Nobody. I don't know. My
Cream of Filth below us.
My Dungeon Synth project will open for us, and his synth project will headline. But
cool.
I think if we're dreaming huge, I don't know if we would. If we're dreaming, I don't know if we would go well with Nightwish necessarily. Even though I love Nightwish, don't get me wrong. But I don't know if we'd fit. I think Septic Fleshgod, and us. I think I don't know. I don't want to have to play guitar with Francesco and company
Yeah.
coming and Fabian. They're insane.
That would be
but
stressful as well as
privileged.
opening for these acts as well. That would be like,
Oh my god. Yeah. What a night for drummers. You know,
Yeah.
you get Isak, you get Eugene, and you get Krim on in one go. Can you imagine? But you know, I would love to play with Spires, of course. It would be a dream come true. I had a meet and greet with them last year. Another band that I really love is Atavistia. I've seen that you reviewed their EP last year. They slap.
Yeah.
And I think we would go pretty well together. I
think
know
so
some
too.
of those guys. They're total sweethearts. But,
I think so too. Especially,
you know,
I mean, it's the same. Let's call it entry level. In terms of, I think Medusian is now already, at least in my opinion, on the same, or not far off on the same level as Atavistia in terms of what you guys sound like, what you put out. So I think that's
interesting.
An interesting fit, I would say. So who knows?
I have my Atavistia shirt at home. I should have worn it, but if Matthias knew that I was going to be name dropping him in this podcast, I'm sure he'd be rolling in his sleep having a bad dream or something over in Canada where
he'll know. I can tag him. You know, I can tag him in the podcast. Don't worry about that.
I'll tag him myself as well. I name dropped you.
No worries. Great, great.
Yeah.
great. I have one more, one simple one. Again, a very niche kind of thing. Guilty pleasures of you guys in terms of music. There must be some. Everybody has some.
I'm not guilty about any of them, but I have the unexpected joys. So
yeah,
you first. Go.
I can't really say I'm guilty either.
No.
80s synth sounds is it has grown on me a lot. When I was back in my teens, I despised it. If 15-year-old Isaac would see what I listen to today, partially, he would probably off himself.
What kind of 80s synth like? I know it as a concept and I hear it in my mind, but who actually does it?
Well,
it's just Hotline Miami.
Pretty much, yeah. What it wasn't doing just the stuff that inspired by 80s synths, like Carpenter Brute or like New Retrowave, like Electric Dragon, stuff like that.
Tangerine Dream, Tangerine Dream was also like kind of, I think so. In the 80s, probably.
I know that name. Do you not?
Kind of.
Name?
I do not know.
How do I not know it? But how do I know it? But you don't.
Shit, that's
so
interesting.
Poser alert, everybody. Yeah. But like for me, guilty pleasures, I guess. You know, I like a lot of pop and hip hop oriented stuff that I mentioned earlier, like Marina and
Kendrick Lamar. You said,
Kendrick. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Huge favorites of mine. But oh man, if I were to say the guilty pleasures that maybe some people would laugh at me for, I really like Ash Nico. If you know Ash Nico
at all,
blue hair girl does rap and like Black Eyed Peas kind of pop rap stuff. I really like her. This one, no one has the right to laugh at me for, but I really like Hosier, for example, stuff like that. You know,
it is what it is.
The music that's supposed to be.
If you like it,
unlike mine, you know.
I mean, it's called guilty pleasures, but in a way, if you feel good listening to this, I mean, it's not a guilty pleasure. But then again, how else to introduce?
No.
Right?
We all know that.
Do you have a guilty pleasure?
Oh, I do.
Jill? I don't know if anyone's ever turned that question back at you.
Oh, they sometimes they do, mostly not, but sometimes they do. I'm ready. Many, but then again, she's like kind of well known. I mean, for me, it's Björk. Always been a big Björk fan.
Oh, who's guilty about listening to Björk?
Many people, actually, you know.
Shouldn't be. Shouldn't be.
On the other hand, I listen to kind of a lot of jazz, but weird jazz, like
nice. Weird jazz.
Weirdish
like
kind of
fusion,
jazz.
Like Return to Forever, kind
of. More fusion-ish. I couldn't name any band because most jazz bands have super long names nowadays. I don't know why.
If you know Go-Go Penguin, they are awesome.
I heard the name. I'm going to be fair. I just heard the name pop up a few times.
Yeah.
Snarky Puppy.
Panzer Ballet? That's kind of more... That's Sebastian Lanza.
Oh, yeah.
From... I don't know how well I pronounce...
Yusuf Days also is like an interesting... But that's more like bluesy, jazzy kind of a thing. But then again, it's not the guilty pleasure.
It's a wide genre, yeah.
if I would have to pick like a serious guilty pleasure that does not associate anything that is behind me or what I listen to, is Ariana Grande. For some reason, several songs are seriously.
I don't know why.
It's seriously well done and kind of, I don't know, intriguing enough to always go back, and see what she's doing now. Even though she's so big nowadays, it's like still sometimes very interesting.
I really like the old Katy Perry records and stuff like that. I love Lady Gaga and all that.
Yeah.
I never vibe with Ariana Grande necessarily, but it's like a lot of those like hyper pop, so to speak, singers of like when I was in high school and stuff that I hated back then.
Yeah, kind of. Like cringy.
Yeah, I hated it then because I had to. Right? But it was an obligation.
You had to fit in, basically.
Yeah, I'm contractually obligated to hate it. I can't help it. I just discovered this band called Metallica, and they're so much cooler than that.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my guilty. That's where my guilt is that I was ever, I don't know, alive, a teenager. I don't know, something like that. I'll say that. So
if I actually would say something that close to guilt, even though it's really not.
Shame, maybe.
Maybe just a little bit. Just the lo-fi hip-hop girl on YouTube.
Okay.
Hey, sounds good, man. Come on. It's something to get lost in, and
it's super chill. And other chill stuff like that I really like is like indie pop band called Tennis.
Never
I
heard
really
of it.
recommend them. Real good shit.
Who's the lo-fi hip-hop girl? You need to shout her out.
What?
Why are you looking? Is that no? Well, who is it? You said
you don't know about her.
No, is that her name?
I thought you were joking.
Stream going on.
Come on, man.
On YouTube. I'll show you.
Is this AI generated?
It could be.
No, I don't think so. It's a generated like playlist.
The dumbest. I'm surprised. I don't live on lo-fi hip hop girl YouTube, man. I don't know. Anyway, there's our answers for guilty pleasures, I guess.
Great. I'll take it. I'll check out definitely a few. But seriously, no lo-fi girl? I mean, that's okay.
You'll probably recognize it.
Okay. You have to do some homework then. In any case, we are through with what I've written down. So, first of all, thank you.
You're breaking up with us, man.
Yes, I know. It's very harsh, and sometimes you just have to cut. But thank you for your time, obviously, and your amazing inputs. And I wish you all the best with Medusian, and I'm sure we'll hear each other again. If ever you need 100%. Support, you know where to find us. And for those people out there, again, go and check out Medusian. I will put everything in the link below. Subscribe to them, subscribe to us. And if you want to know more about them, again, massive clicks, massive listens. Give these guys a huge applause, or I'll do, see? Great. And yeah.
I'm deaf now. Next record's canceled.
Great. In any case,
are we.
So are you guys. In any case, I wish you guys all the best and see you very soon. And see you very soon
Absolutely.
out there. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Every night I'm abducted